You threw me off my thing. Wow.
How?
Because
It's your episode. You intro.
I know, but I wasn't prepared for you to sing that in the little intro part.
I'm talking about
Just gay stuff.
just get. Okay, let's do it together. Ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Just get.
I thought you were going to do that I'm talking about, but
Oh no, I don't remember how that goes.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Just Gay Stuff
there we
Podcast.
go.
I'm Lauren.
And I'm Jess.
Do you want to hear something crazy other than that spiel that just happened between us?
What? Tell me.
Can you believe that we are almost at our 100th episode?
No, it is unbelievable.
Isn't that super wild?
It is wild because we've said it a few times that we didn't think we'd get past maybe like 10 episodes. But then we got this amazing opportunity to be here for you on Joy 94.9 FM. And the episodes kept rolling.
They kept rolling and they kept us busy. And then obviously our lives changed. And I know that we've spoken about it in the past 2 episodes. We're not disappearing, but our brand is rebranding.
We're not rebranding. We're still hella gay.
Oh,
But
I didn't mean we're taking the gay away.
We are restructuring.
Restructuring, yeah, that's a better word.
We are restructuring the podcast. If you don't know about it yet, our 100th episode will be our last weekly episode. We are going to take an indefinite break. And then we are going to come back seasonally because Lauren and I have had some really big changes come into our lives. And I think I said this before, but luckily enough for us, our lives are headed in the same direction, but a different one from the podcast for the moment. So we do have to change the structure. We are going to go from weekly to seasonally. We don't know when that next season will start. I suppose we'll just see where the wind takes us.
We're not ghosting you. We will be back.
Well, we won't be ghosting anyway. See, the time that we'll have from not recording the episodes weekly, we are going to do a bunch of social media stuff. So you'll see a bunch of reels coming from us.
Yeah.
We have unfortunately had to take a giant break from the social media side of things, which if you are a weekly listener, you will have realized we aren't posting reels at the moment and we aren't updating further things on socials except for weekly episodes. And even that has kind of slipped a bit because our lives have been so busy
Hectic.
that we just haven't been able to keep up with the weekly things that we have had in the past, which has been really unfortunate because a lot of you have reached out and said, oh, hey, is an episode coming? Or hey, is this happening? And they are definitely coming until we hit 100. So there's 4. There's 4 more weeks of Just Gay Stuff podcast weekly. And that is really exciting. Hopefully we have a really exciting guest coming up before our 100th episode that we are really keen for.
Yeah.
And we want to take this obviously still as far as we can and we hope we reach a large audience of people. And so if you want to see us back and with bigger and better and brighter things, then keep sharing us around.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of all those amazing things, you know that we've done episodes on worst first dates, pet peeves. You did kind of educational one on like The Sims. We've done queer TV shows.
We've done a lot.
We've learned a few things along the way. And we've even tested how well we really know each other even after 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that we haven't talked about yet is sex.
Well, we kind of talked about lesbian bed death and that kind of is in the pocket of sex.
It is.
But it's more compatibility, I suppose.
It's a little bit more compatibility, and I guess that's more in terms of like the relationship and everything comes back to communication.
True.
But I don't mean gender or sexuality. I mean sex as in the intimate act itself.
That's right. We haven't talked about sex, baby.
So grab your notebooks, babes, because Queer Sex Ed is officially in session.
Is it? What am I going to learn? What do I need to learn about queer sex? I think I've seen it all.
All right. Well, let's take it back to the beginning. Picture this, right?
Okay.
It's the era of side fringes. You know that
Side
photo
fringes.
you showed me? Was it this morning or yesterday?
Yeah, 15 years ago, me.
Yeah,
in my emo phase in high school.
Emo phase, heavy eyeliner, MySpace energy, somewhere around year 9 usually. Do you remember sex ed back then? What was it like for you?
Sex ed in my school was one class of a condom on the banana. And it wasn't even by a teacher giving good vibes. It was by this teacher that everyone used to say she was mutton dressed as lamb. Because, because you've heard the term, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so mutton dressed as lamb because this one teacher in particular, she was a hospo teacher and she was quite elderly, like elderly to me now in my 30s is probably different to elderly when I was 14. She was
How old
probably,
was she?
She was probably like late 50s, early 60s, easily. But she dressed in like Supre and ice clothing.
What?
Yeah, that's why we had the joke.
Oh.
That's why we had the joke. And for her to teach a sex ed class, which let me tell you, was just the one fucking class. And it was literally just like, oh yeah, here's a banana. It's in the shape of a penis. Here's
Such
a condom.
lies, to be fair, because a banana is not shaped like a penis.
Well, I mean, some bend up. I've seen it.
Yeah, but they
Not in real life.
don't have the curves. Nanas don't have the curves.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how many nanas you've seen. Let's get back on track.
Yeah, so the mutton dressed on lamb teacher was teaching you about...
Not dressed on lamb, dressed as lamb.
Dressed as lamb.
Yeah, that was the only class I had. And to be honest, the only thing I remember is the condom on the banana bullshit that everybody remembers. What was sex ed like for you?
Yeah, well, mine was pretty similar, actually. I remember it clearly. It was our school had just been renovated and we had to go downstairs to this like glass, yeah, pun intended.
Had to go downstairs to learn about your downstairs.
To this glass room. And the only reason I remember it because it was weird. There was like a giant glass window.
This sounds like a weird like art therapy piece.
No, it wasn't.
Where you're watching porn as a child in high school because they're calling it art.
No, it wasn't. It was like next to the basketball courts. And I think the only reason I remember it was because I remember my best friend saying she had smashed that window in year 8 before I had been there.
With a basketball because it's next to the basketball courts?
It was next to the basketball courts. No, I think she smashed it with a rock.
Oh. Why were you throwing rocks? Lauren's best friend. What the fuck is wrong with you?
You can ask her. And I think my teacher's name was Ms. Burke. And basically the whole lesson was just, here's the anatomy of a biological man and a biological woman. No mention of intersex people.
No, because apparently they didn't exist until yesterday.
Or anyone
How
else.
ridiculous. This is the thing, you know. This is why so many people aren't educated. It's because we were never taught.
We get to that.
Yeah. Well, I assumed so because that's what this whole episode is about.
Yeah. And then it was all don't have sex until marriage and a quick bit about contraception. Boys must wear condoms and, of course, something involving a banana.
Yeah.
Because, you
of
know,
course.
everyone has the banana.
At least your school said boys must wear condoms. I don't know if you're going to touch on this in the episode, but, you know, in a lot of like the hetero norm relationships, it's always like up to the woman to have the contraceptive, like the pill or, you know, and I feel like some men really throw that responsibility a woman's way. And really, it's like up to both parties to be safe and to prevent unwanted pregnancy and all of those things. But yeah, I think we were always told, oh, make sure you use a contraceptive. It wasn't boys, you must this, girls, you must this. And of course, anyone who was non-binary or who didn't fit the gender norms was never even spoken about. So, you know, I really feel for those people too.
Yeah, and that's what was really sad. And same thing, it was very strict, like, oh, women, you shouldn't explore your sexuality. And I'm not even talking about sexuality in terms of like bisexual or
you're talking
lesbian.
about
I'm talking about as in
like masturbation's a no-no.
Yeah, masturbation's a no-no, or as in like if a man sleeps with a bunch of people, they're a legend. And if a woman explores their sexuality, their healthy sex life that way, they're called a slut.
Yeah. So it's never been equal.
No, it's that contradiction.
It's also that thing of like when you aren't educated on sex or what goes on with sex, you are afraid to talk about it later. And so then, you know, these become the taboo subjects that we talk about. Like no one talks about healthy masturbation and the fact that it is healthy for you. And, you know, there was all these jokes about like if you masturbate, you'll go blind. And
I never heard that.
Oh, I think it's a religious thing. I don't know. Don't quote me on anything religious. You know, I am nothing of the type. But I do remember those jokes floating around. It was like, oh, if you need glasses, you must masturbate too much.
Oh, that explains a lot about us.
Yeah, it does.
I'm just kidding. And, you know, of course, there was no mention of consent, which is such a big thing.
That's true. It was never, we never got taught consent.
I think even now, as we've seen a lot of the shows come forward and a lot of that Andrew Tate and incel crap that's gone around.
Yeah, it's a movement, isn't it? It's not good.
It's not good. And unfortunately, even though, yes, some schools have started to integrate consent into the sex conversation, I think it's still not happening early enough. And a lot of people probably will disagree with me on that.
They can. That's fine.
Yeah,
if they want
that's
to.
their opinion.
But I think you got to come from a place where you also think, wow, if I had have learnt about this earlier, either I would have been safer about it, I would have been more educated about it. Because let's be honest, how many people actually learn about sex from their parents? Probably like very low percentage.
No one.
You always learn about sex from your friends and what your friends have done and what your friends have explored and the people that you know that you hang out with. And how often do kids hang out with their parents? You don't. And those are always really embarrassing conversations. So I feel like they have to come from an outside source.
Yeah.
And as much as school can't be the be all and end all of everything you need to know, because, you know, you're only there 6 hours of a day.
Yeah.
And you can't be taught your whole life's work in 6 hours in a day. But these really main things, like I think everyone should have to go to health class, and that's where you learn about not just sex, but all these other things that I learned in, say, HPE or PE, phys ed studies, you know. But they should be taught in a general way to everybody, because it's things like...
It should be common knowledge. That's
it's things like weight loss and high blood pressure and what can cause these things. And I think everyone would benefit from knowing the minimum of all of those things, you know?
I agree with you. And finally, what you said before, we didn't talk about pleasure, especially for women. You know, men, I guess they just really spoke about the initial penis, vagina sex. There was no pleasure and it was just in order to make a baby.
Yeah.
And huge shocker, they didn't talk about sex regarding anyone who was not straight.
Yeah, that's true. And I do know that some parents are pushing back on any education to do with anyone who falls outside of the hetero norm, which I do think is wrong, because as we know on this podcast, all walks of us exist. I think that education needs to be a very general blanket for everybody. It can't just be specified to just the hetero norm couples, because you're really not learning everything. Like queer couples are still subjected to like STIs, STDs, all of those things. Look at the AIDS crisis. Had we known more about like where that came from, there wouldn't have been this like panic. There wouldn't have been this like...
The hysteria wouldn't have been there, because
awful.
Everything is due to a lack of education. Because,
absolutely.
You know,
no one is taught anything.
Because queer people were considered outside of the norm.
Yeah.
And so it's like queer people were completely erased from history as if we didn't exist at all. And we often see that in not just in the sex ed, but everywhere in life.
We talk about it all in history and how like 1 minute we can be celebrated and then the next minute, oh, that person, what person?
Yeah,
they didn't exist.
But not.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not just our schools. Like we're 2 schools out of all of the states in Australia, in the world, that failed us. Studies show that only about 30% of LGBTQIA plus students felt their sex ed was remotely inclusive of their identities.
Wow. So 70% of people didn't even feel seen.
No.
Wow. See, that's a lot when you talk about if there's 100 queer people in a room, 30 of those people felt visible and 70% felt invisible.
And if we're talking about this is Australia, so that's not even including the rest of the parts of the world.
Wow. Yeah.
Which is wild, because queer kids exist in every single classroom. Ignoring that reality doesn't protect them, it leaves them unprepared.
Yeah, definitely.
Like Jess said, you know, people end up with STIs.
And you know what? I played in my old band, we played a queer event under the Story Bridge once, and they had like a queer health
stand.
Yeah, queer health stand there. And that was the first time I'd ever been given like a diaphragm thing. You know how it's like, it was like a piece of plastic that you like put over so you can still give oral sex as a woman to a woman. I never even knew, and I was in my 20s at this time. So I never even knew that was possible for me to catch something from just like giving oral to another woman. Like I did not even register that.
No, because you don't, because you're not
because
taught
you aren't
it. You aren't taught it.
Yeah.
Exactly. No one ever said, here's how to be safe, comfortable, and respectful in queer relationships.
It's true. It's true.
It was just, don't get pregnant. And for queer kids like us, that basically meant you don't count.
Well, for queer kids like us, I was like, not going to happen. Easy.
Which is true. You do. You just straight away pull the lesbian card or gay card or however you identify card and go, well, that won't be me because, you know, teachers have told us that's not what happens. It only happens if a penis enters a vagina.
Which is true.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, that dip out of the doctors where they're like, is there any chance you could be pregnant? And they're like, no. And they're like, how do you know? And I'm like, because I'm gay. Lesbians.
Well, so what happens when you grow up without inclusive sex ed?
Can I tell you?
Yeah.
What happens is that you feel like your sexual experiences don't matter and that you aren't well educated on them.
It's true. You end up with confusion, shame, and sometimes real danger.
Well, yeah, let's, you know, insert AIDS crisis.
Yeah. A lot of queer people end up learning about sex from porn or chat sites, which, let's be honest, aren't exactly the safest or most accurate classrooms.
And I know we're talking about queer sex right now, but there is this massive issue that also teenage boys, more predominantly than girls, are learning about straight sex more from porn than from these educating classes. And that's a problem because for anyone who has ever watched porn, which is like 99% of us in the world, it's not real.
That's the whole scissoring thing. I thought that's what you were going to say.
No. So, I mean, if you do, good on you. Good on you. But yeah, it's one of those things where you can't be learning the wrong things from the wrong sources because all you're going to do is the wrong thing.
Literally. According to the Trevor Project, queer youth who didn't receive inclusive sex education were 50% more likely to feel unsafe or confused about sex.
Of course.
Meanwhile, GLSEN, which is like a
gay, lesbian.
Yeah, gay, lesbian.
Sex education.
It's an education thing. Found that only 19% of students said their schools even mentioned queer people.
Yeah, I remember my school did not mention any queer people.
Ours didn't either.
And like at the time I was denying that I was queer, but still.
Gay.
So in that moment I felt seen.
Yeah.
Because I was pretending.
And that's a big part of why STI rates are often higher in queer communities. Insert AIDS crisis.
Yep.
Not because queer people are riskier, but because no one ever taught them how to be safe.
It's so true. And it's not a case of being riskier in the way of like experimenting with your body in the wrong way. It's riskier because you had to do riskier things to just have a basic need fulfilled for you, you know?
Literally. It's true. It's true. You had to kind of escape into different parts to be able to experience something yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I'm jumping a few hoops, but in honor of us getting closer to our 100th episode, I was looking back through some of our messages and found one that really stuck with me.
Okay.
Someone once said they thought lesbians couldn't get STIs because there were no penises involved.
I love that because it's like the STIs are a male problem. No offense. Lots of offense.
I'm like, well,
I get the thought process.
I understand the thought process. And like you just said, you didn't realize you were able to give STIs to someone else from oral either.
And you know, in saying that, I'm going to be really honest here. I do have the cold sore gene thing. So like, you know, obviously when you and I like even kiss or are intimate, I'm always
very
careful and cautious of the fact that like I don't feel a cold sore coming on because the last thing you want to do is pass that on to someone who doesn't suffer from HPV.
Yeah. Honestly, I think a lot of people might have thought the same thing about, you know,
the penis in the vagina.
The penis in the vagina.
Yep.
And that's the only way you can catch an STI. That just shows how much of it comes back to a lack of proper education. Another listener, a trans man, shared that he had to learn about safe binding and sex positions from Reddit because school never even acknowledged trans bodies.
Yeah. And I guess the thing is, obviously, I know parents are so like, don't teach my kids to be gay or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we're still having this argument that you can turn people gay. But no matter how much of a sensitive subject you think it is, it's sensitive for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, well, it's only sensitive for this non-binary person who feels unseen. It's sensitive for the straight white young boy who has never heard anyone talk about sex before, everyone goes like this in the same way, like, oh my God, I don't want to be hearing this, but they need to know. So it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to benefit from education. You're always going to benefit from learning. And honestly, not only will it teach you to be a better partner to somebody in the future, but it'll teach you to look after your body better so that, you know, you can prevent any of these really horrible things that could happen to you if you do catch an STI.
And even in saying that, you know, it's unfortunate that this trans person had to learn about binding and sexual experiences through Reddit, because a lot of that stuff isn't real. A lot of it comes from like porn, or maybe it's someone else's experience. But, you know, it's the same way that Australia's currently going through that whole puberty ban blocker thing at the moment. And they're just using trans kids as the forefront for it. And you're like, no, it's all to do with the education of like health. Like, didn't you say a friend of yours?
No, my cousin was on puberty blockers because he had a condition where his body was like growing faster than he was. So it's not just because some people are recognizing that they are a trans identity. There are all sorts of reasons that young people might need this in their life. And the problem with modern media is that they want to make an example out of one group of people, and then they spread propaganda, which is the most incorrect information. People believe whatever they read on Facebook, and then they
or shown on the news.
Yep. And then they get on a bandwagon and they spread that propaganda further by sharing a post or whatever. I have friends on Facebook that I like to challenge all the time, especially when they spread false news. And really, it's just honestly mind-boggling to me how much false news people do believe just because it's on Facebook. So that's one of those things where I'm like, you know, for this person who was learning about the proper way to bind and their identity through Reddit, that's great. Social media can be such a great tool.
But it also has a flip side.
On the flip side, like it's two sides to every coin, right?
Yeah.
On the flip side, we are information in our pocket because we're walking around with a phone. The problem is when people spread the wrong information and people believe it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, talking about information, we're going to talk a little bit about queer sex.
Okay.
So first off, queer sex isn't just one thing. It's not just the scissoring or up the bum or whatever you see on the porn sites. It doesn't fit into the narrow heteronormative idea of what sex is supposed to look like. It's not just about where the body parts go. It's about connection, communication, consent, and pleasure.
And I have to jump in and say, for such a long time, were you not taught that sex was just penetration?
Yeah.
So
I think we've had that conversation with other people where they've gone, oh, but that doesn't count as sex. But you're like, well, what was the sex part that you did that you would have counted? And they've said something like oral or fingering or something like that. And you're like,
well, why does that count, but this doesn't count? You know, it is about what you believe to be correct with your partner.
Exactly.
Or whoever you're sleeping with. It might not be your partner.
Yeah.
Might be someone else's.
And that's what it is. It all comes back to connection, communication, consent, and discovering what feels good for you and your partner, and recognizing that intimacy looks different for everyone.
And that's where knowing what feels good for you and listening to what feels good for someone else, this is the biggest thing where we have definitely spoken about this before, but how our straight female friends have like never experienced an orgasm with their straight male partners because they're so afraid to explore A, themselves, B, their relationship, C, their sexuality. It's all of these things that add up, like what you like about yourself and what you like in pleasure and in sex.
Yeah.
And I also feel like, it'll sound like I said in sex. Don't go fucking a pre-mantis over here. But just more so the case of, so then these people live out their lives so unsatisfied because they haven't explored those pathways of themselves. And then you live just an unfulfilled life, or you feel like sex is a chore, or you know, we've heard it all before. I'm sure everyone who is listening right now has heard a friend or a family member or whoever is talking about their sex life be unfulfilled to some extent.
And that's really sad to me for many reasons. I think that's a bucket that people then go elsewhere to try and get filled, which is also unfortunate for everyone involved in the situation.
It's unhealthy too, because if you're not being honest with yourself of what you like and what feels good to you and how you can make someone else feel good, well, then you're always going to look outside of your intimate partner to fill your cup.
And I think those people, especially our female straight counterparts, shouldn't be afraid to communicate what they want in the bedroom.
I think a lot of them don't know though.
No, I know.
Because they
haven't had that exploration.
Yeah, because it's always been a taboo subject of like masturbation isn't talked about or you shouldn't do it or whatever. It's actually very healthy, everyone. So make sure you do it.
Wise words. And like you said before, can we please stop acting like sex only counts when a penis goes into a vagina?
It's not just penetration, it's everything.
Yeah, that mindset erases so many experiences, especially in the LGBTQIA plus community. Queer sex can be oral, fingers, toys, touch, or even deep emotional closeness, and all of that is valid.
100%.
I think that's the biggest thing, and especially as we've spoken about the way people identify, you know, as like asexual, but still able to have intimacy relationships, and there's different spectrums of asexuality.
Yeah. But it's also like just different versions of what you believe sex is. Other people can experience things on a different level, and that is sex to them.
Yeah.
I think we've lived with such rigid boundaries for so long that anything outside of what is considered normal is weird, and people don't understand that. Even going back to episodes where we've talked about back in the day, if you were a woman and you weren't married by 25 and you lived alone, well, that made you queer.
Yeah,
and
because it wasn't normal.
Queer didn't necessarily mean gay. It just meant that you were not normal for wanting to live alone and not be in a relationship. The same as many of our lesbian cat lady are now. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, we've grown up to believe that you are only successful in life if you get a good job, you get married, and you have kids. There are so many people out here who don't want to get married. There are so many people out here that don't want kids, and those things you don't have to have. Your life is your life. You don't have to stick to these like rigid structures. It's the same as I know people who are married to each other and live in separate houses.
Or separate bedrooms.
Yeah. And that's fine. We only think it's weird because we've been taught our whole lives that a normal, happy, healthy couple is a man and a woman getting married, having kids, and staying together forever.
And the man goes to work and the woman is the homemaker.
We are still having this conversation today.
And that was like the 50s.
It was even earlier than that.
Yeah, I know. Which is wild.
Crazy.
Going back to the queer sex for a moment, it can also be quite playful, imaginative, and built on a mutual understanding, not a rigid script.
Like I just said.
Yeah.
The rigidness needs to leave the building.
And the bedroom.
Yeah.
Did you like that?
Yeah, I did.
Threw that in.
Very good.
It doesn't need to follow the old school baseball rules of first base, second base, and home run.
But see, you know, first base and second base, it's all still intimacy.
Yeah.
Like, why is a home run?
But also, why is home run considered, like in the heteronormative, the penis entering the vagina?
I don't know.
Like,
because you're bringing her home, son? I don't know.
terrible.
I don't know.
Queer intimacy exists outside of that framework, and that's part of what makes it so beautiful. Like you said, all those intimate parts that I think queer sex and queer intimacy, if we're being really raw and real and honest on the podcast like we often are, for me personally, a lot of it's about the role play side of, not the role play, the foreplay side of things. I was like, role play? That's wrong.
I was like, ooh, who are we? What are we doing? Let's pretend we're two really good podcast hosts and our podcast is really successful on the radio.
It is.
Okay. Yay.
We nailed it. I meant foreplay, and I think we've spoken a bit about it before in previous episodes where you've kind of said to me, you like that, I like that tension, that kind of push-pull before the actual sex.
Well, it keeps things interesting. And, you know, sex can feel like a chore when you're getting to, I want to say when we're talking about heteronormative sex where you are considering that the end game is penis and vagina. It's really a case of, well, if that's the end game, it's pretty boring every time, isn't it?
Especially if you just go from like not even kissing that much to straight in the deep end, love.
Yeah. There needs to be a build, and, you know, it doesn't always have to look one way.
And I think the number one thing is I can't speak on behalf of every woman, but I know for a lot of women, a lot of the stimulation comes from the clitoris, not from the actual entering.
Well, yeah, we know that for a fact because we have them.
Yeah, entering of the vagina.
Yeah.
So for men who just go straight to the entering of the vagina, your poor lady.
I think that's where communication and education from both sides really needs to come into play, because you can't just have one person fulfilled. And, you know, sex doesn't always have to look like both people being fulfilled at the same time. And we know for a fact that, like, there's a lot of times where it is in turns, and, like, that is also fine. It doesn't make your sex count less. It doesn't make it count more. It just gives us this even playing field. And one thing that I know we've touched on before about, like, the straight counterparts always have a problem with, like, anal sex and all these kinds of things. But I'm just like, do you know how much more pleasure you would be having if you were so open and fluid to your partner, like, to just trying things and opening up your, like, sexuality
That's right.
spectrum?
You recently had a few conversations
I was
about
asking some of
pegging
my
husbands.
Yeah, well, I was asking some of my straight friends, like, have they ever pegged their husband? And I just wanted to know, because I'm like, you know, guys put on this, like, really macho, like, nothing ever touches my bum. You know, all of our gay guy friends have all been there where they've had some straight guy be like, ew, meh, meh. I'm like, A, you like to put your dick in someone's ass, let's be honest.
Also, isn't that their G-spot in their arm?
Exactly. I'm like, why?
Would you not want the most pleasure?
Why are you so against sexual pleasure? It's like, you're not, but you are.
They're not. It's because they've been taught hate about being gay.
Exactly. So it's like, you know.
And they're not prepared because they haven't done research.
One day I would love to be on an open playing field. And see, this is where it comes back to, if you were educated about all types of sex from a younger age, maybe it wouldn't be so taboo.
Yeah, I get you. Well, whilst we're on taboo subjects, let's talk about kinks.
Okay.
Queer people often lead the way when it comes to exploring kinks safely because we talk about it, negotiate boundaries, practice aftercare, and make sure everyone is okay. Kink isn't about pain or power. It's about trust.
It's true. You really do have to trust your partner or your partners when you're coming into, when you're going to role play.
Yeah.
And experiment with, like, BDSM and things like that.
Yeah,
You need
of
to have
course.
trust. Trust is, like, the number one thing regardless.
Trust and respect. Yeah, that's the main thing. And like you said before, a lot of the queer people, like our gay counterparts, have that openness to talk about the aftercare and everything else to make sure everyone is okay.
Yep.
All right, time for us to get real and raw. I'm going to play rapid fire kink bingo.
Okay. How am I crossing it off? I don't have a bingo card.
I don't
Are you
know.
asking me if I've ever done this?
Well, I'm asking you if this is something that you'd be keen to do. I already know the answers.
Keen? I'm keen for most things.
Keen to do, but
I'll do anything once and twice if I like it.
just not wax shit.
Oh, I can't get burnt. I'm
don't
not
like
really
the
a
hot
pain
stuff.
person. I'm not a pain person. That doesn't get me.
I knew that wasn't it. Okay, ready?
Okay.
Rope play.
Oh, yeah, I'll be tied up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have often said I'd be tied up.
Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I've never done it, but I don't mind it.
No, I've never done it either. Role play.
I mean, well, the problem I have with role play is I don't think I'd be able to take you seriously if you pretended to be someone else.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, if you were like, hi, can I shine your shoes for you?
That was like, why shining shoes?
I don't know.
That
I
was
just
like-
imagined you as a slave.
It's like because I'm always like,
my
my slave.
slave.
That was like the show that we just watched, Watching You, where the couple pretended to not know each other at the very beginning, and she pretended to be someone else, and then they were actually dating.
I understand why people do that, but
to spice things
I
up.
don't think I would be able to take you seriously. I think I would just break character.
You would just laugh.
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
I think I would be too clumsy to
And
get.
you do this thing where sometimes when you're trying to be sexy, you pull this face and it just looks funny.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to. I'm too clumsy to be sexy in a role play.
You're too clumsy to be sexy, period.
Yeah. Praise kink.
Explain to me what this is. Is it like a religious thing?
No.
Praise kink.
Praise kink's not.
I just imagine someone dressing up as Jesus. No, I imagine someone just wearing like a Jesus toga.
No. Praise kink, I think, is usually like, you're such a good girl. Like kind of like the bratty to the.
like the come to daddy.
Yeah, kind of, but
I
more
don't
like
the daddy thing. I can see the benefit of it when we're talking about someone. Oh yeah, daddy. But I can't do it. And is it a lesbian thing? Can all the lesbians tell me, do you actually call anyone mummy? Because that is so
weird.
Well, I'm not judging anyone.
No, me neither.
I don't want to judge anyone. I'm just asking because I'm not sure if it's real. Like, does that happen, or is it just like our gay daddies? Is that like, you know?
But the lesbians get called hey daddy also.
Yeah, but that's what I'm asking.
Oh,
Like, do you
okay.
ever go, oh, hey, mommy? Besides, like, you know, oh, Espanol caliente. Hey, mommy.
No, I think praise kink is more like, oh, you're such a good girl. You're doing so well, blah, blah. It's like, I don't mind that because
I understand what you're saying.
I like to be a bit bratty. So I like when it's like, oh, that's so.
It's the push and pull of the, what do you call it? The figure that's like above you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
And I like that because I like to be controlled in that way.
I don't think I would like to be called a good girl because.
Because you're not.
Well, no, I'm very good. I just think like that's not my thing and that's okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
If it's everyone else's thing, that's fine.
I like it. Are there any other
Noted.
You knew this already.
No, not that one.
Well, it's the same as like our dominant to submissive kind of.
Yeah, but I've never called you. Never mind. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
That's
We're getting
a conversation
we're getting
for
too
later.
deep.
Are there any
Pun
other
intended.
Are there any other kinks you would enjoy and willing to share on the pod?
I really like being the dominant one.
Yeah, that's okay because I like being the submissive one.
But then I also don't mind being dominated sometimes. It really depends on the moment and you got to do it well. Like, you know, I wouldn't mind walking into a room and being like smashed into a wall and, you know, that's pretty good.
I get that.
You could throw me around the room.
Yeah, okay.
If you were strong enough.
Yeah, I was like,
if you could lift me. But, you know, I'm trying to think now.
I don't think there really is because we're not that explorative.
I mean, we're not, but at the same time,
We are?
I think that comes from the fact that we communicate a lot and we know what feels good, so we just get the job done.
Yeah.
You know?
We're busy. We've got shit to do.
That is absolutely true. And in the same breath, we're telling you, don't be too busy for sex, you know? Communicate and do all these things and be fun and, you know, be fun.
No, you can have both.
Yeah. It's a healthy balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have any others that you're willing to share on the pod too?
I don't think so. I think it's really the tied up thing, pushed in a wall.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know.
Being submissive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're moving on from kinky time.
Yeah, have a think about what everyone's kink is.
I
think everyone's got one.
Yeah.
Whether you want to admit it or not, that's the difference, right? Like if you like country music, I think everyone likes it to an extent. It's just whether you want to admit that you do or not.
Well, it's the same thing. Most people probably haven't tried or had the right communication or tools to explore. Like
Maybe
I
your
probably
kink is country music.
like I wouldn't mind trying out BDSM stuff, but not to a crazy extent. But I know that's not your thing either.
It's not really, but if you wanted to try it, I would always be open to things you want to try.
Yeah, of course. And likewise.
Like, I'll whip you, but I don't want you to whip me.
No, that's.
I went to Dracula's
I was
on the Gold
gonna say
Coast.
that's because it's a Dracula's chick got
I
you.
went to Dracula's on the Gold Coast once and they like whip you as you go in the door. And I like pleaded with this person to not whip me and they whipped me and it really hurt. And honestly, I
were
could
not
have like
keen.
written a really bad review, but I didn't.
Because you're not a Karen.
But I could have because I know these things are fun as well. It's the same thing as we talk about with our drag queen friends, right? Just because you're in entertainment doesn't give the audience the right to
touch you.
Yeah, non-consensual touching. But I think also if you're an entertainer, it goes both ways. Like you also have to respect your audience and their consent. And I felt really disrespected that night.
Yeah.
Not trying to like, you know, hate on Dracula's, just saying.
But that's true. That's how you felt and that's valid. The performer also should have respected your boundaries as well.
I think what's worse is it wasn't like I said playfully, oh, no, not for me. No. I was like, can you please not?
Yeah.
And it was really like they just hit me anyway.
Yeah, that's
and I really
bad.
didn't like that. So then I feel like that kind of plays into like
the fact that you wouldn't be so keen into
I would definitely not be keen
BDSM whipping.
Even with you, who I love, because of that bad experience. And that's where like, you know, PTSD and things like anxiety and things like that come from because you've had a bad experience in the past because of consent issues.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why consent and communication and all these healthy sexual boundaries and everything should be educated, should be taught in schools.
These are conversations that you need to be having.
Yeah.
Regardless of how old you are, who you're with, whatever gender identity or sexual identity you carry, it really needs to be a respectful conversation that you have with your significant other or potential partner or potential
someone you are
sexual
sleeping
partner.
with.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of classrooms, Let's go back to the classroom for a minute. Imagine this. You're back in 9th grade for sex ed, but this time you get to design the class you always wished you had. What would be in it?
If I'm my 14-year-old self who didn't know that I was going to come out one day and actually live a queer life, it probably would have been the same.
But if you were openly
for now
queer,
I think I would start the conversation. Like, I would love to teach a sex ed class. I would start the conversation with the fact that everybody in this room today identifies as someone, and that someone might be different to the person beside you. We have different sexual identities. We have different gender identities, and sex will look different to each and every one of us. Even if you were teaching a classroom of only straight kids, that conversation still applies.
Yep.
Sex looks different to each and every one of you. So the way that we can have a healthy sexual relationship with anybody is to have open, clear communication, consent, and respect. Then from there, I think I would talk about the fact that some of us are born differently. Some of us are born with the sexual characteristics of both biological sexes, and some of us are born with the one but may identify differently, whatever. No two people in the world are the same. Mm-hmm. No matter how you look, how you identify, everyone is different. And then we'll start with the hetero norm because that's the boring one. And then we would go into, but sex looks different for different people and for different identities. So let's go into that. And then we would go into the safety of those things. And then, you know what? I would reference the fact that we had an AIDS crisis and would reference the fact that people have been down pathways they didn't need to venture on because they didn't have the same education that you were receiving right now.
But the most important question, would you include the banana?
Yeah, except I'd have like 2 or 3 of them.
For lunch or? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I would have 2 bananas and 2 donuts.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'd have in a separate a banana and a donut. And then we'd talk about how all of this looks for all the different people that are on this earth.
Yeah, but I think I'd include a proper discussion about anatomy. So I guess kind of the terminology of people to stop saying boys have this, girls have that.
Yeah.
Because we know for a fact that that's not necessarily the truth.
Yeah.
We can say people with penises or people with vaginas, but sometimes people have both. Mm-hmm. You know, that's where a lot of our intersex.
Yeah, and I think that was the other thing, just touching on the puberty blockers. It's not just puberty blockers, but, you know, hormone replacement therapy and gender affirming care in general. We forget, like we don't, because us in the queer community know that we exist, but people outside of our queer community forget that people that are unlike themselves exist and need certain care to live a regular life for them. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we do have intersex friends that are on hormone replacement therapy. We have intersex friends that have had to go on puberty blockers because they are still figuring their life out. You know, it's not a simple task. And I think that's where we need to stop that rigid, well, it's this or it's that. There is so much grey matter. There's not just black and white, and that's the same as sex education.
Yeah, and I think I would also add to that and to this class that for both male and female, all genitalia looks different, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Oh my God, what it looks like.
Yeah,
yes.
There's no one size fits all kind of bag. We all have different things, and it sucks that in today's society, not even in the heteronormative zones, but
for everyone across the board,
media has made it out. You have to look like this to be a perfect person, to be a perfect way, but that's not the case at all. All genitalia are beautiful in their own right.
And, you know, we have to talk about us with vaginas. The lips are all different. And we've all been there where we think ours does not look right.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it's like for people that don't have vaginas. So, you know, everyone put up your hand and tell me. But if you've ever thought your penis looked weird, it all looks different. No one looks the same. It's, you know.
Well, to be fair, I'm also like, genitalia isn't really like attractive. They're just pieces of...
They're not pretty.
They're not pretty. They're just pieces of like skin and flaps and all this shit.
Skin flaps.
Yeah, skin flaps. And whatever the penises are.
Skin flute and a wizard sleeve.
What?
Yeah, have you not heard those terms?
Wizard sleeve. I've heard of skin flute, but what the fuck's a wizard sleeve?
A vagina.
Yeah, I got that, but what? Wait, how?
Because you know when the wizard points like this and the sleeve's like whoop.
Oh, okay, sure. And adding to that, can we please, most importantly, teach about safe queer sex? Things like dental dams, gloves, and...
Dental dam, not diaphragm.
Oh.
That's what I meant.
Oh, no, I think there is one that is actually called a diaphragm.
Yeah, but isn't that
That's
like...
the cup.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
Gloves and lube exist for a reason. If schools actually taught this, queer people wouldn't have to figure so much out through trial and error.
I also want to say it's not just the trial and error of the act of sex itself, but I feel like because then you're forcing all walks of life, not just queer kids, but all kids, you're forcing them onto the internet and into unsafe places. As Lauren said before, because the answers are on social media or online, you go into those unsafe chat rooms where people are willing to tell you about sex. And I feel like that's where a lot of predatory people are, because they're so quick to want to teach young kids.
And the vulnerability of being a young queer person wanting to know about sex. Of course, you're going to be entrapped in that.
You're going to be susceptible to wanting to learn. So you're going to be susceptible to, unfortunately, maybe opening yourself up to a bad situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if schools aren't going to teach it, what can we do?
What can we do?
Luckily, even though we just spoke about a few of the bad parts of the internet isn't all bad.
Lucky.
Because, you know, we're on it.
Yeah.
There are amazing queer sex educators out there. A few highlights at Scarletine. We will add all these in the
we'll put it in the show notes.
Is basically the queer sex ed class of our dreams.
Love it.
Erica Moen is a comic artist who explains everything from anatomy to consent in a beautiful, shame-free way. Mm-hmm. There are also incredible books like Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski and Queer Sex by Juno Roche that are absolutely game changers. And don't forget, you can always reach out to queer health clinics or organisations like ACON or Planned Parenthood Australia for accurate...
Lonely.
Well, it can be. Planned Parenthood Australia for accurate, safe information. If you want to make real change, get loud, talk to your school boards, your MPs, your teachers. Inclusive sex education literally saves lives.
It really does. And it saves people from getting themselves into a bad situation, like we said before.
Sure does. So what did we learn today? Queer sex isn't dirty.
Nope.
Confusing or something to be ashamed of. Mm-hmm. It's human. It's love, it's connection and communication, and it absolutely deserves a place in the classroom.
It certainly does.
Well, that was your lesson from Miss Lauren.
The lesson was, what would I teach if I was a queer sex educator? Well, not even, well, I am queer, but I mean like
a sex
educator. Well, like I said before, I think everyone just needs to be taught everything, and then there would be less hate in the world. And that is the bottom line. If everyone was educated about everyone else, all to the same extent, we'd have less prejudice and we'd have less homophobia and we'd have less transphobia and everything, because we would all have learnt about each other.
Because no hate was taught.
Exactly.
Well, I hope you liked this episode. I know Jess learnt a few things.
Yeah, it's a dental dam, not a diaphragm. I knew it was like a piece of latex thing that you put over.
I learned some new stuff as well, even just researching the episode. But for now, Miss Lauren is signing off.
Miss Lauren is signing off. Yeah. It's been a long week, as we say every week, but every week is long when you have a million things to do, and that's our life. So until next week,
I guess you better remember to
stay gay, motherfuckers.